The sleek, ultra-modern lobby of WME's Beverly Hills headquarters was utterly silent except for the incessant clicking of Megan's high heels pacing across the polished marble floors. Her face was flushed and cheeks streaked with mascara, the unmistakable evidence of frantic, embarrassing tears that had been hastily smeared away. As she marched with quivering purpose toward the front doors, Megan could feel dozens of judgmental eyes trailing her from the surrounding offices and cubicles. She refused to make eye contact, instead staring resolutely ahead with a look of pain, defiance and humiliation etched across her features. Just then, the immaculately dressed co-CEO emerged from a side hallway, clearly bracing to intercept the scene unfolding in his company's lobby. Megan immediately recognized the trim, unflinching executive as Brian Stokes, one of the top power agents in the entire entertainment industry. His countenance was unreadable, flashing the familiar look of guarded pragmatism. "Mrs. Markle," he intoned with professional curtness, subtly adjusting his silk tie. "I wish circumstances for our meeting today didn't have to be quite so unpleasant." Megan opened her mouth to reply but immediately felt her throat clench with fiery humiliation. She took a sharp inhale, blinking rapidly in a futile attempt to hold back another threatening deluge of tears. After a few agonizing seconds of resistance, she finally found her voice. I used to believe in your agency, Mr. Stokes," she managed through ragged breaths, unable to face him. "That you were truly committed to empowering unheard voices and combating misogynistic stereotypes." Stokes gave the tiniest of nods, his expression betraying nothing as Megan slowly turned her tear-streaked gaze to bore directly into his eyes. "But your vile actions today prove you're nothing more than a coward ruled by your toxic corporate masters and that insidious, bigoted media establishment," she spat through gritted teeth, tears spilling freely down her cheeks once more. "Canceling someone you claim to support, just to appease those cruel monsters." At this, Stokes simply spread his hands in a disarmingly casual shrug, completely unfazed by Megan's outburst. If anything, he looked slightly amused by her emotionally histrionic display. "With all due respect, Mrs. Markle, you can spare us both the cringeworthy theatrics," he replied coolly. "WME doesn't have the luxury of indulging every random influencer's delusions of grandeur and burning desire for perpetual public victimhood." Megan felt her face grew even hotter with humiliated outrage, tears now streaking down her cheeks uncontrollably. But Stokes pressed on with his ruthless verbal undressing, seemingly taking pleasure in stripping away Megan's last pretenses of sympathetic humanity. "Make no mistake about it, our agency's only crime was naively falling for your carefully calculated grifter routine for far longer than we should have," he continued with biting nonchalance, casually checking his watch. "I mean honestly, how many more disastrous Spotify podcasts and tone-deaf Netflix shows did you think we could reasonably keep propping up? Viewers and ratings don't lie." For Megan, each insulting syllable pierced and stung like flesh wounds from a sadistic verbal flaying. This was a ritualistic and deliberately public humiliation that Stokes seemed to be savoring, dissecting her fraudulent self-mythology with a surgeon's cold precision. She could only stand there convulsing with angry tears as he rained down brutal truth after truth. "Face the facts, Mrs. Markle," Stokes said, finally taking a small step forward to drive his dagger one final, lethal twist. "You are now utterly irrefutable box office poison, both commercially and ethically. Your limitless chasing of wealth and fame has officially outstripped any remaining goodwill and moral high ground to trade upon. Now you've been permanently unsubscribed." With that parting shot, Stokes turned and sauntered back through the office, waving a dismissive hand at the utterly shattered Megan without breaking his stride. His point had been made in devastating clarity. She had thoroughly overplayed her hand, and there would be hell to pay. Unsure of how she even remained on her feet, Megan could only robotically resume her lonely march out of the building as tears streamed down her flushed, ruined face. Taunting glances and disapproving mutters followed her exodus in waves, searing her very essence with inescapable mortification. Once outside on the curb, the warm California sun suddenly felt oppressively blinding and harsh. Megan fumbled for her aviator sunglasses, hoping to obscure her humiliating emotional collapse. But it was far too late. The paparazzi had already descended like vultures to the prospect of fresh Markle blood in the water. "Megan! Over here!" Did they fire you? Did your podcast finally get canned? Is this the end of your billionaire influencer sham? The shouted slurs and mocking laughter from the nearby scrum of photographers stung more than ever, now that her confidence and momentum has been so irreparably shattered. Finding her idling Range Rover, Meghan frantically waved her driver over and flopped into the back seat in a blubbering heap. Blessedly enveloped in the jet black privacy tint, she finally allowed herself to descend into a messy, wailing torrent of utterly unbridled grief. All of the pain, rage, hatred and devastation she had so stubbornly bottled up came gushing out through primal howls and gasping sobs. Her body rocked violently back and forth as she finally let it all pour out, the dam of self-control that propped up her entitled facade well and truly obliterated. "I've lost everything, oh my God, what have I done?" she moaned over and over through trembling, disbelieving convulsions. "All my dreams, my one chance, everything is ruined forever. How could I blow this so badly?" With her career, reputation and personal brand now utterly immolated, snatched away from her grasping fingers by the ruthless entities she had so longed to upend, Meghan was truly unshackled from the chains of delusion that drove her relentlessly. No more pretenses to maintain, no more public masks or fragile self-mythologies to cling to. For long, disorienting stretches, the former influencer wallowed in the blackest, most abject throes of pitiful desolation. The full weight of her catastrophic miscalculations in throwing away traditions and burning bridges finally bore down into her psyche with crushing realization. Through messy, stuttering convulsions and primal, screeching howls of raw anguished agony, Meghan's tightly constructed facade as a poised conqueror slipped away to reveal the fragile, cripplingly insecure little girl she had always been at her very core. At one particularly haunting low ebb, Meghan wailed a single desperate name through her sputtering gasps and tears: "Daddy, oh God, Daddy, I need you."